Well, this happy parade went on for not that long, actually, maybe a mile. This was on the country road. There weren't cars around at all, and the country road. It wasn't flat in the middle of Farmers Cove. It was hilly, and it was going up and down over these low hills. None of them were important enough for the horses to have to slow up. Really, they could. And after the last carriage had turned, or not carriage, buggy, besides the three, had pulled off or turned around or whatever, uh, waving as they went, because it had been a special event. Actually, it was the first time that a couple had actually chosen Earth's Drink for their honeymoon. Earth's Drink by now had plenty of tourists that came there. Some of them even stayed a week. But this was the first time that a married couple had chosen that. So it was a kind of an event. But anyway, Mervin, he pulled off the road at the top of one of these little low hills, and the other two buggies pulled off as well. And he got out and had them get out. Everybody got out, actually. They didn't have to stretch their legs. They just kind of did it at Mervin's suggestion. He wanted to show them, the couple and their parents, a couple of things. And I want to clear something up. His name is Mervin, and there's a reason I got mixed up, because the other two drivers were almost his age, and they were twins. They were his cousins, and they were twins. One is named Irvin, and the other one's named Ivan. Irvin and Ivan, the twins, dressed in black with their black hats, and they still, even at 78 years old or whatever they were, they still look very much alike. So that's just to clear up why I got that name wrong. He's Mervin. Mervin, I will get this right. Mervin Zimmerman is his name. Well, anyway, they got out, and it was a place where you could have a distant view. And he pointed out to the north. They had been going west, and now, but they were going to turn toward the north a little bit. And there in Maker Mountain, as the surrounding mountain went, there was a very clear gap, a real dramatic gap in the mountain that they could see. And the valley, I'll call it a valley, floor seemed to sink away before it got to that gap. And he said, that's where Earth's Drink is. That's our destination. It looked to be about maybe 4 miles away. A little hard to tell in the distances. But anyway, I thought you might like to see the lay of the land. And the other thing he wanted to point out was, since Peter and Heidi had expressed some interest in the fields and the crops, he said, look down there, still in that direction actually, but much closer. Look at the fields. And you see something different about those fields down there? Now that was pretty far out, but they could see a difference, because these fields were being farmed by, not all the farmers in the Cove were Mennonites, no, not by any means. And certainly not all Mennonites were farmers. But those that weren't farmers were usually some kind of craftsmen. They were either woodworkers or builders or sheet metal workers of some kind or another, various trades. And almost none of them lived in the burrs. One of the other things Mervin pointed out was there was a mountain higher in that ring. I said it looked like a hand a little bit. I don't know what way to put it. And there was a mountain along that rim that was higher than the rest. That's Keys Mountain, and dramatically higher. And he pointed out at the base of Keys Mountain, he said, over there, maybe you can tell from here that there's a town right there. That's Fishersburg. He didn't pause. I'm pausing because I'm trying to remember all these names. Fishersburg. He said that's the way people would usually go from the airport to Earth's Drink, because they drive cars. And I didn't want to take you that way because it would have spoiled things, I think, a little bit, because there's all kinds of signs and traffic in a way, and pedestrians, and I just thought you might like these country roads more. Uh, if we'd come that way, it wouldn't have been so leisurely. Not until we finally got down into Earth's Drink. But anyway, that field down there, you see it's different? And they said, yeah, they could see it. That field was farmed on perfect contours. You could tell, instead of being big fields, that the rows went up the hill and down the hill, and with the powerful steel-rimmed, steel-tired tractors. But they had the power with the diesel to go up and down, up and farm any way they want, really. Well, not that one. That was on a perfect contours, and the strips were narrow. And he said, you're seeing right there the beginning of an Amish, I don't want to call it invasion, this is him speaking now, but the Amish are coming for the rescue. I'm going to call it a rescue. Because just over Maker Mountain on the west side is an area called Dutch Corner. And in that area, Amish had suddenly moved in. And it had filled so quickly that there were some Amish still looking for some way to get land. And they'd begun to look into Farmer's Cove, where usually there's no land for sale. But now, maybe later I'll explain how it is that Mervin knows all this stuff, because he's going to talk like somebody who knows this, and I'll explain why he does later. But he said, in the great change of the last 5 years, which everybody knows about, and the Great Awakening, with the price of fertilizer and the price of diesel fuel, those two things together have hit farmers really hard. And it's true, their prices have gone way up as well, what they get for their products. Food, people know in the supermarket that prices have gone way up. But it's still been hard for those that have really counted on nitrogen fertilizer and diesel fuel. Well, the Amish have been hurt by that too. You noticed that the crops don't look like you might have imagined, and you know, we Amish, no, the Mennonites, we Mennonites use horse and buggies, but we use tractors in the fields. The Amish use horses, and down there you're seeing the effect of a different kind of farming. I want to say older. Yeah, it's definitely older. But they not only have horse and buggies, they also have work horses, the big muscled horses. And this guy, his name is Elam. He had to think a little bit too. His name is Elam Peachy is that guy's name. And he brought his wife and his family, and they bought some land. And they're supported by their community as well, even though they're the only ones in Farmer's Cove now. But he started to farm that way. And they don't use diesel fuel. And they're doing fine. Now the Amish, or the Mennonites, aren't being hurt the way the non-Mennonite farmers are, because the Mennonites, in their very culture, they are very frugal. They don't spend much money. So they're able to be surviving better. And also, they have the skills to work with horses like that Amishman Elam is, but they don't have the workhorses. You don't build a fleet of workhorses in an instant. You got to, raise them. But they're doing that busily because they're getting ready for it. Well, as we go on, we're going to go by his fields, and you'll see it. But I just wanted to take the time to tell you this. So they got back in their carriages, and now was the final approach to Earth's Drink. Bye for now.